He's convincing himself that he didn't do it, and he wants other people to believe as well that he didn't do it. And eventually, I guess, because he's lying to everybody, he's also lying to himself, and so he believes his own lies. Maybe that makes him feel better as well, I don't know. Maybe it makes him feel better that he believes himself that he didn't do it.
Hello everyone, hope you are all doing well. Welcome to Mysterious Mariam. I am Mariam Hassan, and today's video is really an intense one with disturbing graphic details. So viewer discretion for today's video is advised. Let's dive in. On July 10th, 2001, around 11:45 in the night, Sef Gonzales entered his house when he found out his father Teddy Gonzales and mother Mary Gonzales laying dead in the pool of blood. He frantically called 000, which is an Australian emergency number. After that, he frantically knocked at his neighbor's door. He was completely hysterical, explaining his neighbors what he saw inside. He also explained that there were intruders when he returned, but he managed to chase them away. Emergency services arrived and found out that couple was already dead hours ago. They went upstairs and found another victim, Sef Gonzales' sister Clodine Gonzales, brutally murdered in her bed with a jacket covering her face. Now, apparently this was a crime of violence, but the way Clodine's face was covered after her murder showed that there was some emotional attachment of the killer here. Police secured the crime scene immediately and started working. They saw curved indents of being bashed into the wall in Clodine's room on the wall adjacent to her bed, like she was hit by a baseball bat. Investigators also found out that 2 knives from the knife holders in the kitchen were also missing. This gave them an idea about the murder weapons, 2 knives and a baseball bat. The bodies indicated a gruesome and brutal ordeal victims might have gone through. Authorities also found out a graffiti on the kitchen wall with of Asian KKK written. So this clearly seemed like the family had been a victim of a hate crime. Police also found out a broken window at the back of the house. Sef was completely devastated. In his first statement to Gladesville police, he said he left his father's law firm at around 4 p.m. and headed home. But he received a call from his friend Sam to meet at 8 p.m. and in the meantime, Sef decided to meet up with another friend, Raf de Leon. But after driving around for 4 hours, failing to locate Raf's house, he decided to head back and meet Sam. He then returned home after dropping Sam off at around 11:45 and found the gruesome scene. In a police media conference, he said, "It is difficult to explain the love and ties in my family, but if you were to picture the 4 corners of the world, in my world, we were the 4. The 3 corners of my world are now gone." At the funeral, Sef said that his father Teddy Gonzales believed that the name he gave his first child had never been bestowed on any other. Sef lamented at the funeral that his father had promised to reveal its true meaning once he turned 21. Now he said he would never know its origins. Sef then sang a song, "One Sweet Day," in his father's eulogy.
Sorry, I never told you all I wanted to say.
While the lyrics showed regret, missing him and looking for a better tomorrow, a feeling of intense strangeness rippled through the church that day. It jarred in the minds of the friends. One of the friends said that he seemed sad but so calm. There were 3 caskets in front of him holding the mutilated body of his family, and he started to sing. It felt really strange. Sef went on TV offering a reward of 100,000 Australian dollars for the killer or killers to step up.
My family, friends, and myself would like to ask anyone out there to please help us.
As investigators worked further on the case with now autopsy's report in their hand, it appeared to them that whatever this crime might be, it was not a hate crime or a homicide by a stranger, because there was a whole 1 to 2 hours difference in each murder, and a stranger would never wait and stay in a house that long. If they were going to take this case as a robbery gone wrong, there was nothing valuable missing from the house, including good amount of cash they had at the house at the moment. That's when they found out that Sef called his father's accountant to ask that how much money he was gonna inherit from his father just 72 hours after the killings. This was a big red flag. That's when they started looking more into Sef Gonzales' secret life. Before having a glimpse in Sef Gonzales' life, let's first talk about Gonzales' family. So, Teddy Gonzales was a successful lawyer. He got married to Mary in 1977. 3 years later, they had their first son, Sef Gonzales, on September 16, 1980 in Baguio, Philippines. Sef's sister, Clodine, was born in 1983. Teddy and Mary started a 40-room hotel business. The business was still establishing and new when 1990s Luzon earthquake hit Philippines, destroyed the family's home and the business. When the house collapsed, Sef got stuck in the rubble and was rescued by his father, Teddy Gonzales. The family now decided to immigrate to Australia to find a new future. They settled in Sydney, New South Wales, and by the late 1990s, Teddy had requalified as a lawyer, set up a successful law firm specializing in immigration, and purchased a plot of land in North Ryde. Mary was just as hardworking and ambitious as her husband. She worked as an office manager of Teddy's legal practice. The Gonzales family appeared to be close-knit. The parents, however, were devout Catholics who had high expectations of their son and daughter to excel academically and raised them strictly without distractions. When they discovered their teenage daughter Clodine had a boyfriend, thinking that he will be a distraction for their daughter, they sent her over to relatives' house in Melbourne to continue her high school education. Sef, however, was not academically gifted. He was average at the best. He, however, had a strong passion for music. Teddy and Mary preferred to have him pursue a traditionally successful career path, either in law or in medicine. Sef did try to do so by enrolling in a medical science field at University of New South Wales. 2 years later, he dropped out because he couldn't perform well. He then enrolled at Macquarie University and took up law subjects. In his parents' eye, Sef was finally performing. He had good grades, setting himself up for a good career path. But in reality, Sef was close to being expelled as he often skipped and failed examinations. Sef was forging his university result documents and lying to his parents. According to a source, he one day offered his sister that he could forge her result sheet as well, and allegedly Clodine told this secret to their parents. When they found out, they warned Sef that they would be confiscating his favorite car, a Ford Festiva, if he did not perform in the next semester. On top of that, Sef was smitten with his girlfriend with engagement promises. Sef's parents, however, disapproved of this relationship as they found that the girlfriend was too old for their son with a 4-year age gap, and warned him that if he did not perform in his exams, they would disown him. They limited his car use so significantly that Sef had to take the bus to university, which he hated. This was a major blow for Sef. He always led a life of luxuries, drawing everyone's attention towards him by spending extravagantly and expensive cars. Now, investigators knew that Sef's account was suspicious. In his first statement, he claimed that he tried stopping the gushing blood from his sister's neck.
But there was definitely blood coming from that area. And somehow I assumed in my head that her heart's still beating somehow.
He barely had any blood on him, save a few splatters and stains on his shoe sole. It didn't fit the timing of her death, as postmortem investigation estimated her death to be 3 hours before Sef's return, and blood would not have gushed out if the victim had passed away, as the heart would have stopped pumping. Also, Sef's car was spotted by his father's client, who was there to drop the documents at their family's letterbox. At around 6 p.m., Sef's aunt, Emily Luna, also spotted Sef's car. While her door knocks were ignored, she caught a glimpse of a shadow behind the frosted glass, but she shrugged it off as a coat stand. So according to Sef's statement, he was driving around the city for 4 hours to find his friend's house in his car from 4 to 8 p.m. How come his car was still parked in front of his house? This made investigators more suspicious about him. So instead of alerting him by asking him directly these questions, authorities taped his phone, and one of the undercover cops became a friend to him. Sef was quick to react to his family's inheritance. As I mentioned earlier, less than 3 days after their death, Sef contacted his father's accountant to find out about his father's retirement fund. He also pawned away his mother's jewelry. He did sell her watch. In 2 months, Sef began inquiring about a luxury car brand, Lexus, that costed over 170,000 Australian dollars, where he told the dealer that he would be financing it through his inheritance, which was worth over $1.5 million. He had also deposited for a Porsche but did not go through with the final purchase, and he moved into an 11th floor apartment in Chatswood, furnishing it with yellow lounge from his parents' house while he advertised their cars, selling them without his grandparents' permission. He also sent emails to his aunt Annie in the Philippines, who was managing the Sef family affairs there, asking for money. He told his grandparents that he had brain tumor and needed money for his medication. He even created false false death certificates for his parents on a computer to speed up the process. By December of 2001, detectives had told Sef that they didn't believe his story. Through a friend, they leaked the fact that there were 2 recorded sightings of his car on the murder afternoon, and he began to panic. He needed a new alibi now. He knew that his new story had to accommodate 2 car sightings and reason why he had lied to police on the first time for so long. Not realizing his phone was being taped, Sef desperately called brothels, asking, did they have any surveillance cameras? How long had they been open? Did they keep copies of their visitors? Choosing as his alibi witness a woman he had been with before who worked at the brothel, Sef told police that he had been too ashamed to say it earlier, as he was also embarrassed to admit to his extended family that he had been with a prostitute and he was not a virgin anymore. But it turned out the woman he had chosen had taken that week off the work. He now had no choice but to stick with this second alibi plan, as he had already changed his story once. He paid a taxi driver $50 to write and sign a dictated statement saying he drove him to Chatswood that day. He also began fabricating emails which he handed to police. One said a wealthy Filipino businessman had been responsible for the deaths of his family and he should lie low and search through his father's business record. Before all of this, police had no murder weapon and not enough evidence to charge him, but he was grasping desperately, trying to force people to give him statements and creating scenarios. All of it was taped. As police approached his friends, they learned about the web of lies that Sef had been telling his friends and family. Not only was it a lie that he had cancer, but many of his other stories also proved to be hollow. He told his friends that he owned a television production company, which was a complete lie. He said he was training for the Olympics, which obviously he was not. He said he had a black belt in Taekwondo, which he didn't have. He told them that he was attended by bodyguards, which he never had. He even told his friends a story that he had been offered a record singing deal after his moving rendition of One Sweet Day at the funeral, which was also a lie. He would call organizations such as Starlight Foundation, telling them he was Sef Gonzales and expecting to be on their A-list for functions. Many described Sef as a narcissist and a compulsive liar. He did not mind stretching the truth to impress other people. He often lived in fantasy world, imagining himself as a businessman, a model, and a singer adored by all. He even made a fan page for himself and left messages praising himself by himself. Experts say that Sef Gonzales was desperate for approval that he had not received from his parents. He treated his friends generously. Some even felt motivated by how much he had supposedly achieved. One of his friends even said that he always respected him for his dedication and motivation, and he thought keeping in touch with him will help him learn something and mature a bit more. He was really a good influence on him and always kind. While Sef's claims were extremely outlandish, they seemed genuine to all who heard them until they had a reason to believe otherwise. He seemed very genuine to his friends. The things he used to say used to come out so genuinely that it was hard to question them. Even when he was boasting, he seemed modest. All these scenarios clearly tell us the kind of a manipulator and a liar he was. So this is where I have to end today's video. I am really sorry to leave you hanging like this. To know what really happened that night, you will have to wait till next week. Do tell me in the comments below, what do you think about Sef until now? Do drop a like and subscribe if you liked the video, and I will see you next week. Bye.